asking yourselves, should I film horizontal or should I film vertical? What's it gonna be? Or if I film horizontal for YouTube, how can I possibly post it on social media later on? Well, I'm about to put you on a little game on how I film horizontal, then eventually post for social without any cropping issues. What's up, y'all? My name is Desiree LeCap, aka LeCapture. I'm a filmmaker who also shares all kinds of film tips and tricks across social media. Today, we're diving into this debate, horizontal or vertical filmmaking. I've gotten a lot of questions throughout social media on when to film what, when do I film horizontal, but how do I crop or vertical, and which orientation is the key to unlocking the cinematic magic. Cinemagic? So I'll be sharing tips for when I'm filming horizontal and then plan to use for social. What to look out for so that way in post you have no problem cropping for vertical and then posting it on social media. Then a key tip and gear that actually helps me relieve a lot of stress thinking about filming twice and rather simultaneously. First things first though, let's understand the basics. Horizontal filming, also known as landscape mode, right? It's the traditional widescreen format we're all very familiar with. Now with social media, which is vertical filming, on the other hand, is in portrait mode, capturing content in a more upright position. Context is crucial in deciding between horizontal and vertical filmmaking. They both have their pros and cons to it, but horizontal is perfect for capturing wide landscapes, group shots, and any scene where the frame being wide is essential. Vertical, however, shines when focusing on a single subject, like a person or an object, or of course when you're posting on social media. Now let's talk about that cinematic feel, right? Many argue that horizontal filming provides a more immersive and cinematic experience, basically mimicking the natural way our eyes perceive the world. If you think about it, before social media, horizontal filming was kind of the only way of filming. Not necessarily, but it was a main way. Like the way we watch movies is in horizontal, the way we watch TV is horizontal. Basically, it's the go-to for storytelling and narrative-driven content. When it comes to versatility, both orientations have their strengths. Horizontal filming is excellent for traditional filmmaking and editing, while vertical suits platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, right? The key is adapting to the platform and the audience. So it really could depend on what you're filming and the intention behind it and where you're gonna post it. So for me personally, when I know I'm filming for YouTube, which is 16:9 horizontal, but I know I wanna crop in for vertical, I'm gonna stay wide on my shots so that way there's no cropping issues, but more on that later. So let's talk about some tips for when you plan on filming horizontal but wanna use it for social. Tip 1, turn on the grid on your camera and keep an eye out for this center. So essentially use rule of thirds, right? Divide your frame into thirds horizontally and vertically, using the vertical top to bottom framing to ensure you aren't cropping anything when you cut down for 9:16. So with that being said, place key elements along these lines or at their intersections for a balanced composition. Another way to go is if your camera has the capability, film in 4K and then edit in a 1080 timeline. Especially for social media, this is what I do a lot. I film my social content, especially when it's horizontal 16:9 in 4K, and then I edit in a 9:16 1080 timeline. It still crops a lot, of course, because I lose the top and the bottom. It doesn't crop as much if I filmed in 1080 and then edited in 1080 and didn't have room to crop down. Does that make sense? Although you may still have issues framing, try to stay wide enough for your frame because you'll be able to punch in when editing on a vertical timeline. So those are the things I usually keep in mind when I'm filming horizontal, but no, I want to post it on social media is I'll stay in the center of it and then use the grid as a guide to help me frame myself evenly. Now, long hold. The real deal, okay? The camera that you might honestly need. So it is a Lumix S5 Mark IIX. This camera has a capability to film in ways other cameras don't have yet. Lumix is known to have really good video features, and my all-time favorite, which I use often with the S5 Mark IIX, is the open gate capability. It just means we're recording using the entire size of the sensor, which is 3x2. It has 24 megapixels with a 3x2 ratio, which is big enough to be able to record in 6K 3x2 full sensor. Something to keep in mind is that not a lot of other cameras have this ability. Mirrorless full-frame cameras often use a sensor with a 3x2 aspect ratio, but other brands restrict video output to 16:9 despite having that sensor size. So right now I'm filming with the Lumix, and I'm obviously filming horizontal, and I want to cut this for social. I'm still using the tips I mentioned earlier, which is using the grid lines and also staying as wide as I can. So typically if I wasn't filming with this, it would look like this, punched in and a little cramped for social media. But since I'm filming at open gate, I'm able to zoom out and frame here instead, which is pretty cool because it gives me the flexibility, right? So it's not so squeezed in. Now I'm here. I'm gonna reiterate this time and time again because it's true, it's helpful. One thing I would say about open gate is always shoot with guide markers on, which is the guidelines, the rule of thirds, because it could be so easy to film within the ratio that we're used to, right? So be careful when your subject or object is too close, because when you convert it to 16:9, you can lose the top or the bottom of your framing. This is a game changer for social media. Flexible framing gives more total resolution to work with in post-production, right? With this oversized image, you'll have the flexibility to crop in on different parts of the shot without impacting the overall quality of the video. This is a great way to add variety to your clips and keep your audience engaged when you don't have a variety of angles to work with. With this, you could even use the extra resolution to simulate pans and other camera moves in post-production. Basically like adding keyframes and like some type of movement from left to right with that extra space that 3x2 offers. For example, like I mentioned briefly earlier, I'm filming at 3x2 using the whole sensor. I can crop down to 16:9, which is a typical ratio for videos. But when I want to reframe for social media, it would usually look like this, right? But now I got more room like this. With flexible framing, you can create square 1:1 aspect ratio videos for your Instagram posts using the full height of the sensor resolution. Like with the YouTube shorts, you can use the same video footage to create vertical videos for your Instagram stories, TikTok, Reels, Snapchat, or any other vertical video platform. For both square and vertical video production, the final video will benefit from the extra vertical resolution provided by the flexible framing shooting. Again, the pixels at the top and bottom, that 16:9 usually cuts off. And the taller frame allows you to preserve more image quality and include more of yourself and the background in the cropped frame. At the same time, you could save time in production since you only have to record one video clip regardless of how and where it will be used.
We can cry when it's over. 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 We can cry when it's over.
So overall, the answer to the question, should I film in horizontal or vertical, is really all depending on where your video will live. Because personally, when I film for YouTube, I always, one, like to stay wide enough 2, have my guide markers on. That way I know I'm in the center of a vertical, or I could adjust to make sure that I'm not cropped at all when I do frame for vertical social media. 3, if your camera has the capability to shoot in 4K, 6K, 8K, that gives way more room to play with in sizing down or zooming in on a 1080 timeline. When I know it's just gonna live on social media, I'll go ahead and film vertical. But my camera settings are always the same, 4K or 6K, and then I edit on a 1080 timeline. So I guess it really all depends on the type of content that you want to create and where you want to post it. So if you're strictly creating for social media, Instagram Reels, TikTok, etc., then I would stick to vertical. But if you eventually know you want to use it for horizontal down the road, or post it on YouTube, or capture memories that way, I would just keep these tips in mind. I hope you took something from this video and try these tips out yourself when posting on social media or YouTube or creating films. So remember, continue being great, go out and create, and have fun doing it. I'll see y'all at the next video. Peace.